Then you move on to impacts on the business. Now, rather than having, and you can thank our team and some of your fellow childcare providers. I happen to be one of those people who loved to write papers in school, much better than taking a multiple choice test. So when I started out, these were little narratives, meaning you would have had to write me a little paper for each one of these. And your colleague said, "Diane, are you insane? These people are incredibly busy," which I know, and let's give everybody a break. So there's a lot of statements or questions, but they're all check off, okay? So this is indicate, and these are the things that specifically the governor's office is asking us to ask. And again, it won't be associated with your specific program. We will be able to say 60% of the programs indicated that income loss due to decision to close during the early days. What was the impact on my business? It was a major impact because I was closed for 3 months, and that really hurt me. I'm still trying to recover from that. Income loss due to low enrollment. You know what? I had no impact from that because when I was open, everybody was there. So it'll take some time to think through these, but answer them all. If it doesn't apply, does not apply. Please answer each one of them. Same format sort of for the next question. And if you don't understand some of the questions, we can always, when we have office hours or technical assistance, but they're pretty straightforward. Our next question, indicate the biggest challenges. Now, some of these questions you're going to say, "Diane, you keep asking us the same stuff in a different angle," and that is true. Some of that is how you construct questionnaires like this, but also some of it is some things seem to be bigger challenges, but you overcame them. Other ones are impacts, other ones don't apply. So for example, this is the biggest challenges you face. I faced, let's say I had a moderate impact with having staffing shortages. For whatever reason, my staff couldn't come, either because they were home with their kids remotely, or because I went into COVID or because of COVID, I lost staff members. Parents not needing childcare, difficulty accessing cleaning supplies. Any of these things were the biggest challenges. The question here isn't whether you overcame them or not, but whether they were challenges in general. Again, this gives us great information for the next group of funds, because we know where your primary challenges were sitting. Now, we had a little glitch today, and we lost, is it this one? No, we have this one. One of the last questions, we're going to have to re-up as soon as we get off. But this one was indicate any of these, the ECCP staff incentives, the CCRSP money, the CCCAS, disaster, absentee, and school age funding. Remember, this was through web billing for child care scholarship folks. And this was for, this is for everybody. Or I'm sorry, the school age wasn't everybody, absentee. And how did it help your program? So this is, what, and if it did not help at all, it helped somewhat, it helped quite a bit, it was a major help. And again, this area, if it doesn't, I mean, something is going to apply, okay? So in here somewhere, say for example, you allocated all of your $100,000 award from CCRSP to income losses. That doesn't mean that it didn't help with some of your COVID-related expenses, because once you allocated it to your income losses, you could do whatever you needed to with that expenses. But if it went directly, then you want to indicate that. Again, it tells us where you needed the money. Then this one is the one that we lost that has other. So we indicate in the following statements whether you agree or don't disagree. These include things like, hold on a moment. And there's statements like, if we do not receive more financial assistance from outside sources, we are likely to shut down in the next 3 months. The next one is in the next 6 months. We will be okay whether we receive additional financial assistance or not. We are fully staffed and will likely to continue be, or we are facing a staffing crisis that could result in a partial or full shutdown due to COVID. So those are the kinds of questions that this number 16 will have. And you will just, again, plug in whether you agree or disagree. There's no right or wrong. Again, it gives us a snapshot of not only the challenges that you folks are facing now and as we look towards the future. And then the last question is, I had to get my little tiny paper in anyway, somewhere. And this is an optional response. This is a place for you to share any stories, examples, or reflections about the impact of COVID on your business, the families, what creative solutions you came up with. I had somebody the other day that sent me a wonderful video of their program with the plexiglass dividers done in like a big X shape. It was really cool. You can also send those in a separate email. If there's more that you want to share than what fits in here, and this is larger on the actual survey, you are welcome to. This is in no way, shape, or form. Some people are writers, some people aren't. This can be a bulleted list. It's nothing, there's no requirement whatsoever about filling this in or what you want to share. However, I love the richness of this question and the things that you all have shared. You know, our staff often talks together. We've had a lot of tears. We've had a lot of laughter. We've had a lot of head shaking in the last 10 months together. And we tried to capture a lot of those stories and share them, obviously anonymously, when we were doing presentations and when we were talking to legislators and people like that. But being able to have them concrete and written down is really helpful. Please make sure you don't include identifying information about children, staff, and family in your write-up. If you do something like send us pictures or send us a video, please make sure to have on file and indicate that you have authorization to share these images. Because we would obviously come back to you and say, hey, our Public Information Office would really like to share this, or the governor would really like to talk about it. They would check with you again, but we don't want to end up with anything in our files. So that is the bulk of the survey. Or the final report. That's what you got to do. Separately, you're going to get a satisfaction survey about how we did, how the state did, what we could do better. And a lot of you have given us valuable input along the way. I know a lot of you have been very frustrated by how slow things rolled out. And I have to say, from an internal state perspective, it's a big institution, and it's kind of amazing that we were able to roll it out as quickly as we could in the scheme of things, since we were, as Marty Ilg loves to say, we were building the plane while we were flying it. So that is the gist of the final report. We will have information about technical assistance if you need help getting it done, answering the questions. Most of this is stuff you folks have already done. The last piece is just so all of you know, once we finish doing our reporting part and we make sure that we have demonstrated that we have done all the appropriate due diligence for giving out this money, we had to turn in what are called process documents. Your financial information and much of the identifying information that isn't public information, like how much each program got paid of the grant awards, that's public information. But all that wonderful, rich financial information that you sent us will be purged and destroyed. So nobody will have their hands on your financials or your all of those sort of things. So I just wanted you to have a comfort level in that. And in addition, there has not been a lot of eyes on your business operational information in any way, shape, or form. A very, very small group of us in the Bureau of Child Development have looked at it, and in many cases, we've looked at it in pieces, and any of our external helpers have only seen it with an identifying number. So your program isn't named, but there's a number. So I talked for quite a while. There's really only 4 minutes technically left, but I will stay on. We'll stay on until longer, I think, Tori, or no, we go to 2, don't we? I can't remember all. I'll stay on for quite a while, and we'll answer some questions. So I'm going to stop sharing and go back to our faces, and then Tori, I will ask you to shoot me some of the questions.
All right. This last one. So a lot of them, can everyone hear me?
No, you're scratchy, but
I will try to do the best I can. Okay. Most of the questions in the very beginning were about the website that regarding the Child Care Aware and also the state, so they can update your information. So we will post that online. And also a lot of them were.
By the way, we'll also put it in, I'll put it in the email with the final report. I'll put it in.
A lot of people were asking if you include the P&P billing as well as, let's see, a lot of questions, if you include the P&P loans and like include in the box, if they were the grants and the P&P loans, a lot of people were asking that question. As gross income or a grant, how would you do that?
That's a good question. Yes, you will see on the worksheet that we included. We didn't include any of the CARES Act money, the other CARES Act money, but I believe that we did include the PPP money. That's that payroll protection program as income, because you have to pay that as income. But I will verify and make that really clear in the instructions.
Okay, and there were several of those that were asking that particular question, and there was a few like this. So I'll give you a scenario. Someone wrote, "What if a child was not attending but was still having their spot held by, and then the family paying tuition? Do we count them as attending or not?"
No. What all they're interested in is how many children were actually attending childcare. We'll have that snapshot of whether parents were still paying even if their child was out. But one of the challenges that we have in the state, if somebody says at this moment, how many children do we have attending childcare? We can't tell you. We don't have that number. So this gives us a snapshot of how many children were actually attending childcare. And I just have to reflect back that this is humorous, because when we did our pandemic, what was called Crimson Contagion through DHHS, some of the folks that were not our people thought that if there was a pandemic, because that's what we were actually practicing, they thought that you would get, that all the child cares would just be closed because nobody would need childcare. They didn't take into account for essential workers, people that still had to work, vulnerable children, so on and so forth.
Another question, what if you only charged partial tuition?
Then on that part where it said, did you charge partial tuition, then I would just put on the other partial tuition.
And there's a bunch of them. So. What if they closed for 2 weeks? Would you say you were open and then add the exposure? That's what it said, but I was trying to understand. It says, what if we were closed for 2 weeks? Would I say open and then add the exposure? I'm not sure.
No, if you were closed for 2 weeks, you would go under the partially closed because you were closed for more than 5 days. But you would, yes, you could indicate that that was because of an exposure. So
This, a couple people had this one. What if you were closed and did Zoom but did not charge families?
Interesting. You know what? I will add to that list. I will add partially or fully closed but did remote programming. How about that? I'll add that one.
One of them was, this was kind of specific, but it will kind of ask general. So we have 2 schools closed from March to September. Do we call one closed and then just add the other kids on the other school?
No, if you have multiple sites, you'll have a place to indicate that on your multiple site form.
Okay.
Basic information. Is that all you've got, Tori? Because I have a couple that were added.
Yeah, I haven't checked those, but I have a couple more. What if a child was not attending but was still having their spot held? And you already answered that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to some of the ones on here.
Okay, so some of the ones here. Somebody wanted to know why we mute you. The reason we mute you is because otherwise, unfortunately, we hear people in the background lots of times. You don't have access to the forms yet. You will as of tomorrow morning. And it didn't
about office hours.
Oh, office hours. You will get 2 things will happen. You'll get an email. And you will also you'll get an email from me that says, hey, these are the office hours. And the way that office hours work, I'm going to do it because there's so many of you. I'm going to do it alphabetically. So it'll be by program. So programs that are A through whatever will have office hours on these dates. And people that have, between this date and this date, and you'll have a couple options. I am going to do some evening ones because I know for some of you, that's the only time when you get a break. And the way that office hours work is that you pop on, you type a question in the chat, and then I literally sit there for it's just like you're popping by my office. If there's only a few of us on there, which have happened before, where there's 4 or 5 people, then we unmute everybody and we'll ask each other the questions. And I don't mind being asked the same questions over and over, because people go in and out. They pop in and out. There is no obligation if the office hours are for, 90 minutes or an hour. You don't have to sit there the whole time. You can pop on, ask your question, and then leave. And that's how they work. So think of it as it's like dropping by, where you don't get the Hershey Kisses that are usually sitting in my office. Let's see, what else?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, about the CCRSP and CCCAS, you may have already answered this, but is that included in the gross income?
No, we didn't include any of that, because the idea is that we're trying to say in our report, this was a program for losing money in addition to having COVID-related expenses, and this is why we had the income loss as one of the allowable expenses, and one of the allowable uses, and the COVID expense. The ECCP funds are also not included in that gross income. So any money that you got, the CARES Act money, is not included in there. And Christine Casterly, thank you. You know what? We'll look at that PPP and take that out as needed. Pay differential, nope, that's not included. So we're really, the bottom line is, as I think about it, we're really looking at is your income, your tuition income from families, and fundraiser incomes, because we know that lots of you couldn't have your fundraisers this year. So I will make the decision right here on the phone with everybody that we'll take out PPP, we'll take out any of those other sources of income other than non-COVID related grants that people get, because some of you don't charge tuition and your funding comes from grants, not our grants and not COVID related, and income from parents. So Another question. Let's see.
There's one about if your school closures and if your program
If the school is open, but after school is closed, do you indicate that somewhere? You know, I can put that in. I'll add that in. Let me put that on my list here. School closed or school open, because I know, and even down here, the after school, they wouldn't let the after school programs be in the schools, which also caused many of you to have to rent space that you didn't ordinarily have to do. So, no, just to clarify for you, Darlene, and for everybody else, the PPP loan, we're gonna take it out of the income. Okay, we're only going to look at income from things that directly fund your program, which would be, let's say 2019, you had your annual golf fundraiser, parents pay tuition, and you get a grant from New Hampshire Charitable for, I don't know, $10,000 in that usually goes towards, I don't know, programming. Those are the only things that you would be including. But none of the money from absentee, let's see, absentee billing. No, at this point, because I know those things. I know where those incomes were. What we're looking at is, now you guys have me mystified. Because you're right, because childcare scholarship funds, you know what, we're just going to keep it, this is what we're going to do. We're going to keep it clean. I'm going to keep the income strictly on income that you ordinarily get. So that would be your childcare scholarship money that you bill through web billing, your tuition paid by parents, your fundraising income, and your like I said, any grants you might get that are not COVID related that you got anyway. That's all we'll look at for income. Okay. Because I already know what you got for absentee. I will know absentee and for school age and for some of the other ones. Now, disaster billing, yes, because that's part of your standard income. Came through the web billing process, through what we call bridges. But everything else, yeah, let's keep it nice and clean. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Let me see, is there anything else? I think, let's see, do you have anything else? And this, by the way, is not, don't feel like this is it, like you can't ask any more questions. This is, you know, just the beginning of helping you complete the reports, and I hope that you find the reports pretty simple. There will be yes, there is a new worksheet. Somebody's asking if there's a new worksheet. There's a modified worksheet. It's similar to the one that you all did for CCCAS. It just has some of the things that we talked about modified on it. Unfortunately, and I thank you, Missy, for asking this, and Missy was wondering if I could unlock the the CCCAS worksheet so you could just transfer the information over. Unfortunately, there's a way to do that. So you can easily guesstimate, or you can copy out of that worksheet. You just can't unlock it and then change the numbers. But again, you don't have to do that worksheet, or you can look at that worksheet and extrapolate out very easily with a little teeny bit of math what numbers that you need. And somebody had just asked that with the child care scholarship money, you don't know how much money your total that you got until January. You're what you need to do is go back and do your estimates, because that's important to you allocating how much your income losses were. So if you have, X number of children that you're billing at X number of rate, you should be able to pull that up on your web billing site. And it's a ballpark, you're estimating. I think, let me see. Let me look and see if there's anything in chat. New worksheet. I think that's pretty much everything I can possibly think of to tell you at this point. Let me just see. I don't know why I'm sitting here without putting my glasses on. I think we're all in the same boat, you guys. Sort of slowly. I think that's, if I missed something, I'm sorry. We will take the FAQs and post those along with our quickie video here. And we will have at least one more final report based webinar, as well as I said, multiple office hours. Tori we're excited. Tori's, who's was supposed to be here only through December 30th. We're getting to keep till the 15th of January. So Tori's going to help guide all of you through the final reports. Those, once again, let me reiterate, those will be in your mailbox tomorrow morning. If you do not have something in your mailbox in the morning, please email me right away, because that means that we have lost your, we don't have a correct email address, or there's been a change. And it is up to, the estimate is to December 30th. So that's when the money, that's the drop dead date. And last but not least, I'm going to remind you one more time, please, as quickly as possible, get your invoices in. For the absentee and school age, they have to be in by 5 o'clock on Monday. But both of us that you're looking at right now are working all weekend, not by choice, as well as some of our other crew, to try to get these things summarized. So the sooner you get them in, the more of our weekend we get back. So thank you all so much. And I'll just, one last little question. If you're only open 3 days a week, then remember, when you're talking about whether I was fully open or closed, is the amount of time that you're ordinarily open. Okay. Have a wonderful and safe holiday. Stay masked. And I look forward to all of us being vaccinated and hanging out in person by the fall. So